He was the youngest doctor in the room, crispwhitecoat.com, eyes, and a heart brimming with purpose. After years of sleepless nights, grueling exams, and countless sacrifices, Dr. Elier had finally finished his internal medicine residency. At just 27 years old, he stood at the gates of one of the country's most prestigious hospitals, clutching his application, hoping for a chance. There was a vacancy, a position many dreamed of. He walked into the interview room, a space filled with senior consultants, men and women whose faces were etched with decades of experience. They skimmed his file, their expressions unreadable. Finally, one of them spoke. "You're brilliant on paper," he said, his voice flat, "but you're too fresh, too young. You lack experience." Another consultant added, almost dismissively, "Come back in a few years. This hospital handles serious cases." The decision was swift. Rejected. Dr. Elier nodded respectfully, thanked them for their time, and walked out. His heart felt heavy, but his spirit, somehow, remained unbroken. That very same night, an emergency siren pierced the hospital's quiet halls. A middle-aged man was rushed into the ER unconscious, gasping for air, with severe chest pain. His blood pressure was plummeting. The diagnosis was a mystery. The senior physicians gathered one by one, reviewing scans and lab results, their voices low as they debated the possibilities. Minutes stretched into an eternity. The patient's condition worsened. Foreheads glistened with sweat and hands trembled slightly. No one could pinpoint the problem. From a corner of the bustling room stood Dr. Elier, still wearing his visitor's badge. He had stayed behind, hoping to observe, to learn anything he could. As he watched the monitor, he noticed something that just didn't add up. The patterns didn't fit the theories being discussed. Quietly, respectfully, he stepped forward. "Excuse me," he began, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. "May I say something?" The room fell silent. All eyes turned to him. One doctor hesitated. "He's just a fresh graduate," someone whispered, loud enough to be heard. But they were losing time. The patient was fading. A senior consultant, the same one who had questioned his experience, finally gave a curt nod. "Speak." Dr. Elier took a deep breath. Calmly, clearly, he explained a rare but deadly internal condition. One often missed because its symptoms perfectly mimicked a common heart attack. He detailed the subtle signs on the monitor that everyone else had overlooked. "If we don't treat this specific condition right now," he concluded, his voice firm with conviction, "we're going to lose him in minutes." There was a pregnant pause. The senior doctors exchanged uncertain glances. Then, a decisive nod from the lead consultant. They followed his plan. Minutes later, the frantic beeping of the machines began to steady. The patient stabilized. His pulse returned to a normal rhythm. Color slowly returned to his face. He had survived. The room was utterly silent. There was no applause, no celebration, just the stunned faces of seasoned professionals. One by one, the senior doctors turned toward Dr. Elier. The same man who had rejected him just hours earlier stepped forward. He looked at the young doctor, his eyes filled with a newfound respect, and said softly, "Today, you taught us something." The next morning, Dr. Elier's phone rang. The voice on the other end was from the hospital's administration. "We'd like to offer you the internal medicine position, effective immediately." The moral of this story is simple but powerful. Never underestimate someone because of their age or their perceived lack of experience. True knowledge, fierce dedication, and unwavering courage can thrive in the youngest minds. Sometimes, it's the fresh eyes that see what seasoned experience has learned to overlook. And sometimes, the very person you refuse to trust today might just be the one who saves a life tomorrow. Thank you for watching.